I'm Angela Thomas, Partner Consumer and Retail at Deininger Consulting India. Headquartered in Germany, Deininger is one of the world's leading executive search and consulting firms. Deininger Leadership Talk Series is a platform where industry leaders share their perspectives on varied topics of interest and relevance. Today, I have with me a very senior and transformational HR, Shrikant Lonikar. Shrikant currently is the whole-time director and CHRO at Pernod, managing India, Gulf, and SAARC regions. Under his leadership, Pernod has done tremendously well. They were awarded the best places to work in 2021, also recognized as one of the best places to work for women and under diversity and inclusion. Shrikant has over 36 years of experience, having worked across markets of India, the US, Europe, China, Gulf, and South Asia. Most recently, he was actually recognized as the CHRO of the Year 2021 by BW People HR Excellence Awards. Prior to joining Pernod, Shrikant was the president HR for Adani Group, where he was a member of the top management and responsible for leading HR, OD, leadership development for Adani Power, ports, and infrastructure project businesses. Earlier, Shrikant has worked with very large global and Indian multinationals, including Walmart, Honeywell, and Wipro in various senior HR leadership roles. Welcome, Shrikant, to Deininger Leadership Talk Series.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you. Really appreciate having me.
Great. As you know, today's theme is agility, and it's one of the most important leadership traits being talked about today. And I would love to know your thoughts about this topic. To begin with, what does agility mean to you in the broader business context?
See, agility, Angela, to me is, it is a characteristic that the leaders have. The talent has in the organization, and particularly it is revealed when you are challenged. The situations around you, the circumstances, environmental factors. So when they start challenging you, it is tested whether you are agile or not. When I look at it from a point of leaders, when they get challenged, like for just to use an example, when leaders get into transition. That means a leader is moving from one role to another role within the same company, maybe higher position, or when leaders are changing the organization, they move from one company to another. So classically, we see that, and you are in that business, so you see it more closely, Angela, and around the industry, you see that a very successful leader in earlier role may not be as effective or sometimes may not be even successful in the new role, and this transition is the biggest challenge for the leaders. They look at the point of, what kind of strategic choices a business makes or a leader makes. So there are multiple opportunities, options available, and that becomes the real challenge. When you have no choice, there is no challenge. You have to just pick one path. But when you have multiple options to choose from, how do we choose that will transform the business or organization? And how do we build a new business, new organization, maybe align culturally, like in M&A situations and all that, So making these strategic choices, that's another aspect of agility. Timing, for example, what kind of timing of your actions is required and how suitable, how relevant, how quick it is in responding as a business, as a leader, like launching a new product. When do you enter a new market, or expanding the business significantly? So is this the right time to do that? Should I wait for 6 more months or 2 more years? All these decisions, they require agility. Mm-hmm. And this is where I think the leaders and businesses must be adaptable and flexible to understand well the situation and develop a suitable response to that. That is one aspect. Second, they must have the courage and strength to take bold or strong positions and achieve acceptance to new thinking or ideas. That is about future, that is about change. And most importantly, they must know when to begin, at what speed to go, and when to stop or withdraw. So the speed of decision, speed of thinking, speed of action, these are all critical aspects. To me, this is the main definition of agility as I see in practice.
Oh, interesting, very interesting. And Shrikant, you've been a part of an organization which has been a market leader in their segment. And given that India is such a critical market, I'm presuming that maintaining that leading position has been super important for the organization. How has operating in such a business context contributed to development as a leader for you?
See, learning can happen everywhere, if you're interested in learning. But my experience is that learning is easier and more insightful when the business situation is tougher and you are challenged on more than one front. Also, when you are not able to project the future, it's blurry. You are continuously learning in the present by default, On the other hand, successful businesses like Pernod, they also provide a good learning opportunity, but one must make efforts to call out the learnings in such an environment. There is no pressure to learn in the short term since things are fine, when everything is happening well. So there is nothing great about learning from that. You just keep on doing what you've been doing and you achieve the success. So I'll give you the Pernod as example. We decided to transform Pernod India about 2 years ago. So it was a proactive decision and did not fit into logical thinking since there was no apparent pressure to change or to transform. On all parameters, we were doing quite fine, like we were and have been market leaders, as you said, in our market segment. We have been achieving our plans consistently and beating those most of the time, including in these difficult times of pandemic. We have been doing better. We are making good profits. Our brands are strong and continue to give the strength to the business. On employee side, they are happy. Our internal scores of engagements have been among the best among PR group companies in FMCG industry and have been beating our own past records. Attrition is low. Attracting talent is a good ability that we have built thanks to the work that we have done in the last 4 or 5 years in building a strong employer brand and employee value proposition. And most importantly, we have been growing year after year with a double-digit CAGR. Now, if you see that story, where is the pressure to transform, And that is where, for me, it is very important first to know why should we transform. And if I'm convinced, it is easier for me to achieve acceptance among our employees for the change agenda. Very simple. So same question will be asked by our employees. Why should we transform when everything is going so well, So what we did was we had multiple strategy discussion sessions with our executive committee and engaging some of the leaders at the next level to first answer this question, why? Then once we were clear about the answer, then we moved to the next. How would we look after the transformation? What will be the picture of Pernod after we have transformed? That becomes like a target or a dream state of transformation, and that should be inspiring. Then only the journey becomes interesting. As a next step, then we got into the designing the strategy, action plans of transformation, and then moving to the ground for implementation. I've been part of, and in several other companies, I led the transformation agenda in my career. The reasons and methods adopted for transformation are very different. And experiences and learnings definitely are different, Similarly, the learnings here are also quite unique for me. But one thing though, has been very common for me. I need to learn every time through these experiences. That keeps me interested in that. If there is no learning opportunity, then it is very difficult to stay engaged for me. So I never try to pose as an expert or specialist. That has been my attitude, One can be an expert of the transformation process, design, as well as mechanics. I have done it several times. But when the transformation actually happens in real sense, there are no experts, because the experience is very, very specific to that situation, that organization. And one can be wrong in the future if I start predicting the future based on my past experiences, So that thinking of an expert, it can make you arrogant. and blind you to many realities. One has to guard from that. Versus a learning attitude that helps you to remain modest, flexible, and accept failures on the way. It helps you to correct the course quickly when required, rather than holding on to my viewpoint and consciously ignoring the facts that no, I plan to do it this way, so I'll continue to do it in this way, and I know it worked in the past. Not a very good attitude. So today, to your question, Angela, I think I'm more mature. I feel more confident and more proficient in change management, thanks to this experience at Pernod India. And my company is so nimble and open to changes that helps. Once we answer this question to our employees, why change? If we answer it convincingly, they would give their best to make the change successful. This is a unique thing for Pernod.
No, I'm sure, and it's very interesting. And I'm intrigued by two things you said. One, you've changed as a leader. So you've been a part of such diverse leading organization, be it Indian or global multinationals, and you've had a very rich experience of having managed different sorts of organizations. I'm intrigued to know, how have you changed as a leader in the last 30 years? Have you seen a change in Shrikant as a leader?
Definitely, otherwise I will not be here, Angela. Time changes you, but then if you choose to change yourself, it is a better way of changing, So these multinationals, Indian companies, both ways are getting exposed, I worked for long periods of time in the manufacturing and factories in my early career. So those experiences have shaped me, But when I compare these environments, like most multinational companies are also promoter-driven companies. Okay, like Pernod is a promoter-driven company, though it is a listed and we have shareholders and all that. But finally, the promoters still actively participate in the business. The difference is that these large multinational companies like Pernod or Walmart, they are they're present in multiple countries. Large number of countries, like we're in 85 different countries. And that is where they become a little more open to local influences. But one thing common in both Indian and multinationals I have seen is the need for control by the top management. They want to really control what is happening in their business. And depending on what kind of people are sitting there, they want to know. Fortunately, to that extent, Pernod is quite decentralized. That need for control is not as big, but in most of the companies, they create this kind of system to control the thing, So like Indian promoter-driven companies, the ultimate power is vested in the promoters, which is unquestionable, okay? So when the promoter says something, that means exactly the same thing. You cannot say why, how can it be different and all that, So it depends on the personality and culture of that promoter. So they give free hand to the professionals, but at a point in time, they have very hard positions that these are the things, these are the way I want it to go, it must go that way kind of thing. But you'll be surprised to see the same is the case with the multinational companies where the CEO of the company, the CEO at the headquarters and CEO at the market level also, they also have similar kind of power. And the people in the organization, they keep on promoting that image of the CEO, and you'll see name dropping happening in these companies that, they want it like this. The CEO told me to talk to you. The CEO wants to see this report kind of thing. And in Indian companies, it is the promoters and the top management there, The power is most of the time for these kind of CEOs unchecked. Promoter, of course, there is no check on them because they ultimately hold the destiny of the business and they are the biggest stakeholders also. But CEOs may be professionals or coming from the promoter family, but the power that the management gives to them is most of the time unchecked, and therefore the holder of these roles, who is the CEO, that makes all the difference to the future of business in both the cases. Of course, MNC setups, there is a greater accountability of the market CEO to the headquarter authorities, But Indian companies typically encourage entrepreneurship, greater risk taking. They are very, very fast in decision making. Meaning, You can't even imagine the speed of decision making, how fast they can be. And they differentiate performance, merit, contribution, value addition very boldly. They are not shy of telling people that she is the great contributor here compared with anybody else in the organization. Versus MNCs to a large extent, the systems, processes, and the reliance is too high on that. That makes these companies or tend to make them bureaucratic, and they have this greater need of control because of the spread of the business. They don't understand it exactly, So, but my experience is that MNCs are more focused on long-term agenda. Promoters are looking at long-term is 10 years for promoter Indian companies, whereas a multinational company will talk about 50, 100, 150 years. That is one big difference that I have seen, But whatever is the agenda or strategies that they design, they are based on these kind of motivations, But Indian companies have this quite nimble and the ability to do course correction faster and smarter. Multinationals may continue to do what they are doing because it was decided at the top. And even if they know something is wrong, they find it difficult to stop at that point. But Indian companies, like a snappy decision, they will say, stop it here and let's change the thing, So I had the opportunity of work for both Indian and multinational, and great CEOs and some great promoters that I had the good fortune of working with these kind of leaders.
Very nice. No, interesting. And I'm drawn to that comment that you made, that you don't let your past success sort of come in your way while you're making decisions. I wonder, you manage teams, you've seen colleagues at leadership level doing different things. Have you seen leaders who perhaps get their past successes in the way of being more agile? Are they sort of, and it sort of takes me back to the initial comment that you made, that if everything's going well, then why change? And if yes, then how have you sort of managed these leaders to enable them to, rock the boat slightly, think outside the box?
See, my experience, I could be wrong, and I don't want to generalize.
Sure.
Most successful leaders and those with longer experience, 20, 30 years kind of, they enjoy living in the past. Okay. You hear stories from them about how well they have achieved something, how they managed a situation in their earlier company or in the past role, and stories after stories they have. Nothing wrong about that. But the challenge is, they tend to extrapolate past and use it to project the future trends. Okay, because last time this problem came, we did this. This time we do that, solution will come. And I know in my past company, when they encountered a situation, they did like this, and this is what happened. Here also similar thing will happen. This is the biggest challenge, and this prevents them from learning new things and makes them change hours. Okay. It locks their thinking, and they do not realize it. So this is the downside of success. This is also downside of long experience, So when I talk to the younger people, the fresh management school graduates, they're coming to the market, I keep telling them that in the new world of work, longer experience is going to be liability. And no experience or lesser experience is going to be an asset, because you will be able to see everything afresh. And we know that, Angela, that this new world of work is not going to be the same like what we had pre-pandemic. It's very different, and we don't know how it is going to evolve. We are still at that crossroad. So making a projection, like somebody like me, having worked for 36, 37 years, if I start telling you that because it happened like this, I have seen this crisis, I have seen this meltdown, big, ups and downs in the economy. And because of that, I can tell you in 2025, work of world will look like this. If I say that, I'm a fool, I'm telling you, if I make a statement like that, because I cannot be confident about something that I don't know. We don't know the contours of the future today, So we have to go into the dark. And if you have a torch or a headlight to your vehicle, you are very lucky. But most of us have very dim headlights today, so we can't see too far. So this success is, it breeds some kind of arrogance, which is not good. Business is dynamic.
Okay.
And even if you see the situation as the same, it is different. One has to look at it with a fresh pair of eyes, and then only one can develop new perspectives, new solutions. Else you will hold the organization in the past and not help it move into the future. Fortunately, I have always been motivated by change. I do not like comparisons, not past to present or past to future kind of thing. I don't like to compare people. I don't like to compare situations. Any kind of comparison for me is criminal thing. So I don't do that, So because of that, when it comes in front of me, I put a fresh perspective to that and say that as if I am doing it for the first time, what will I do? That helps me, I have saved myself from getting into that trap of success. And I never felt my success is something greater than anybody else's success, or what I achieved, nobody else can achieve. I never felt like that, So that kind of attitude helps you to learn from given situation like that. That's what I think leaders must believe, that in this dynamic world, you cannot predict the future by saying that I am successful. You know, there are multiple things, like Marshall Goldsmith has written a big book on that. What got you here won't get you there.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It's a simple mantra that he's telling you, that don't be arrogant about it. Why do, most successful CEOs and CXOs globally, why they choose to have a personal coach? Even after so much of success, they say that, no, I need my own executive coaching, because they want to see new perspectives. They want to have new insights that are required for a leader. So not my past 25 years experience, So that's the most important aspect of this.
Okay. I couldn't agree more. And then sometimes I feel, the critics may say, I can't keep changing. It's so frustrating. Everyone wants me to be agile, and then it's working. But the next second I have to change. And I'm sure people are getting frustrating. The last 2 years have not helped at all. Do you think there is a recipe to agility? Is there something that people should always keep in mind to be able to adapt well?
See, the biggest motivator to me, Angela, to adapt is to survive. If you want to be alive, you will have to change. Change, when we talk about, what are we talking about? We're talking about changing by choice, changing proactively. You'll keep lying in a bed for 10 years. You will grow older by 10 years. You can't say that I didn't do anything. I didn't use my body, mind, no nothing, no activities. So I should stay at the same age. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen to anything. Any inanimate object also ages over a period of time, right? So if you do not move with the time, if you cannot think ahead of the time, which is what all adaptability is about, it's an attitude and it is a skill. And if you believe that there is always a room for improvement, however best I may be, there is somebody better than me somewhere. And I can be better than what my best is today. This attitude itself, and then appreciate the situation around you, which is ever changing. That it's not going to be like today is not going to be like yesterday, and tomorrow will not be like today. That ever changing situation, one can then develop the flexible attitude to remain adaptable. That, okay, I'm prepared for something unknown that is coming in my way. And I need to build that kind of thing, like what we do with this vaccination.
Right.
So it's making you immune to the future challenges on your body and your health. So same way, I have a toolbox and I keep adding new tools to that, saying that I may need it in the future. It helps me to remain adaptable rather than saying, no, I have already 3 tools with me and those are good enough for my future requirements, when you don't know the future there, So one must understand the situation or the world may not adjust to your needs. You will have to adjust yourself to your own interest. And if you know that, you become humbler. Each time one learns to adapt, one develops ability to remain adaptable. That is the key. And it's a skill. It is easily learnable as long as one has the attitude to learn that.
Interesting. No, I agree. One last thought in my mind and one last question, Shrikant. It's, like you said, it's been tough times, but everyone sort of noticed there are leaders who've done well, who've sort of adapted well, but there are also leaders where you can see that sort of fatigue setting in. And it's no fault of anyone. Some businesses are going through a very, very tough time. Fortunately, some are only facing it for a part of it. But through this current times, as a very senior HR transformation leader, what would be your advice to leaders who are trying to sort of navigate through these troubled waters?
I think, Angela, it is high time the leaders must accept. Not only accept, they must let the world know they are impacted by the pandemic like others, or much more than others. Unfortunately, we see leaders as heroes. Okay? And we believe that nothing can happen to them and they can weather any kind of situation. That is not the reality. So what we did in Pernod was that last year, when we were going through the first wave and this fatigue and this stress was setting in and we didn't know how long this is going to go, we ran a Leadership Connect series. In that, we got all our executive committee members individually coming and talking to employees on a 15-20 minutes talk show like this. And they spoke about how are they managing their life during this pandemic, working from home. And they showcased the human side of their personality, that I'm getting bored. I feel this is monotonous. I want to meet people. I want to step out of my house. I'm feeling restricted and limited. And there is a huge amount of stress. So some of the things that I am doing to handle this stress are this, but like you as my team member are stressed, I am equally stressed. When people saw that human and vulnerable side of their leaders, it was very comforting. It is not a solution to their stress, but they know that we all are in the same boat, and if we have to find a solution, we will find it together kind of confidence, So, and these heroes that we see they are superhuman, right? So that is not the reality. The stress and fatigue leaders are carrying today is accelerating their aging process and can be harmful to them in the long run. They must slow down a little bit. They must step aside and delegate more as much as they can, and stop wearing the mask of winner all the time. It's okay in the short term because business is all about long term. So if you really want to win in the long term, it's okay to step back in the short term. That's not a big deal. They must remain agile and fit physically and mentally to provide that sustainable, profitable growth that every business expects from them. So they must find an outlet to their stress, their fatigue. This is very important, my sense is, and being lonely at the top and this superhero image among people, it stops them from expressing their real feelings or seeking help. But I think they must seek help and we must provide them that help.
No, I agree. I couldn't agree more. I think and that's so true. That superhero image has been there, and perhaps people are scared to, put their hands up and say, I don't know. But I'm so glad some of them did. Some of them did and said that I don't know, but let's do it together. And I think that's, like you said, ability to learn and ability to accept that I have to be agile and learn new things. I think that's a very good sign in a leader. But thank you so much, Shrikant. I'm so glad I could get a peek into Shrikant Lonikar as a leader. And I'm sure, much like me, a lot of others would find this very, very inspiring. Thanks so much again for your time.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you for having me. And I must compliment you for starting this initiative. It's a time that we are so keen to learn from each other, and as much as wisdom that comes from people, that is good for us. And it gives some kind of a trigger to new ideas, new thinking, provides solutions, helps us build perspectives and all that, which is much needed for everybody as a professional and every business also today. really compliment you and your team for doing this. And a big thank you for inviting me.